Virginia changed the garage code. That's how the circus of a story kicks off. I came home from work, typed in the same 4 digits I've used for 7 years, my old college jersey number and the street number of the apartment we met in, and the keypad flashed red like I was trying to launch a missile with the wrong launch code. I laughed at first, because obviously it had to be a mistake. A technical glitch. A random short circuit. Or maybe she just bumped the settings while reorganizing the paint cans she never uses. Except, when I tried again, and then used the backup code we swore we'd never give out unless we were being chased by identity thieves, it still didn't work. I knocked. No answer. I called. Voicemail. I texted. Hey, your garage is having an identity crisis. No reply. So, I went around back like some guy trying to break into his own life. Slipped in through the laundry room, past the ironing board she uses once a year to press our taxes, and found her in the living room, headphones on, laughing at something on her laptop. She didn't even look up. Just waved a lazy hand like I was a waiter bringing her more guacamole. That should have been the moment I knew something was up. Not the laugh. Not the locked out thing. But that casual wave. That, oh, you're still here, gesture. Like I was the neighborhood recycling guy who kept showing up on non-pickup days. Garage code's busted, I said. She pulled off one earbud. Oh, yeah. I changed it. I meant to tell you. No apology. No reason. Just, I meant to tell you, like we were talking about switching laundry detergents. To what? Oh. I don't remember. I think I used my cousin's birthday. Virginia has 17 cousins. I know this because I've had to suffer through their barbecues, weddings, and one tragically long graduation ceremony that took place in a field during a heat advisory. Which cousin? She blinked at me like I'd just asked her to name all the moons of Jupiter. What's the big deal? And there it was. The invisible slap that comes not from what someone says, but from what they don't bother explaining. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because of the code. I could have asked her for it. I could have demanded it, actually. But something in my brain whispered not to. To wait. To see. Because when people start hiding things, they usually don't stop at garage codes. You see, this wasn't our first weird Tuesday. There had been others. Like the time she accidentally wiped our shared calendar and forgot to tell me she was going to a gallery opening across town. Or the time she insisted she had a work dinner, but I later found out it was hosted by a company she hadn't worked at for 2 years. Still, I didn't jump to conclusions. People forget stuff. Life gets messy. And I, Kyle Whitmore, had made a pact with myself years ago to not turn into one of those guys who's always sniffing around for proof like some discount Sherlock Holmes. But then came the Wednesday. Wednesday was trash day, which I only remember because I dragged the bins out like I always do, and noticed a cardboard box wedged under some old paint trays. Nothing special until I saw my name on it. Not written. Printed. A label. Like one of those you slap on a return to Amazon. So I pulled it out. Inside were a pair of cufflinks I'd lost during a business trip last spring, a USB drive labeled "Do Not Use," and a ceramic mug that said, "World's Okayest Husband." It was a gift. From me. To her. A joke, because we had a whole thing about ironic mugs. I gave her one that said "Queen of Procrastination" when she delayed refinancing our mortgage. She laughed. We laughed. Except now it was in the trash. Along with my name. And a bunch of things that should have never been boxed up in the first place. I brought the box inside, set it on the kitchen counter, and waited. She came down 20 minutes later wearing gym clothes, and that fake shipper voice she used when trying to act like she wasn't irritated by my existence. What's this? I asked. Oh, she said. That stuff? I was just cleaning out clutter. Thought we agreed to do some spring cleaning. It's January. She blinked. Smiled. Well, early spring cleaning. And here's where it gets good. Instead of pressing, instead of accusing, I did what any self-respecting man does when he's confused, suspicious, and petty. I pretended to be helpful. Oh, cool. What else are we throwing out? She hesitated. Not long. Just long enough for me to clock it. Mostly old papers. Junk mail. Random things. Should we go through it together? Just in case there's anything important. No, it's fine, Kyle. And there it was again, that smile. That "go back to your video games and leave the grown-up decisions to me" expression she'd been fine-tuning for months. I waited until she left. Said she was going to her bike club meeting. Which, okay, quick sidebar. She doesn't own a bike. The bike club is stationary. They ride nowhere. In a dark room. With scented towels. Sounds like a cult, honestly. She left. I checked the bins. Nothing else weird. But the USB, oh, that thing was burning a hole in my pocket. Now, I'm not a tech genius, but I know enough to plug something in and click carefully. What I didn't expect was a folder titled Fragments. Inside, audio files, screenshots, and a weirdly detailed itinerary with time blocks that were suspiciously vague. 7 o'clock, gym. 8:15, catch-up session. 9:45, reset and reflect. I don't know what kind of gym gives you life coaching in dimly lit rooms while your husband eats frozen lasagna alone, but I was starting to think this wasn't your average cardio session. One audio file stood out, titled Tuesday Loop.wave. I played it, and that, my friend, is where the floor cracked. No voices, just music, a faint beat, ambient, with laughter in the background. Not hers, his, a guy's voice, not speaking, just humming, like they were sharing earbuds, synced in a moment I was never invited to. There wasn't any proof, not yet, but it was enough to light the match. And from that moment on, I wasn't asking if something was going on. I was asking when it started, how deep it went, and who the hell this guy was. And why my wife thought a ceramic mug with a joke we shared belonged in the trash. There's a particular kind of silence that hits you when your laptop screen freezes halfway through an audio file you probably shouldn't have found. Not dramatic silence. Not movie silence. Just that kind of eerie, you've now crossed into a part of your life that cannot be undone silence. And I sat in it for a good 30 seconds, staring at the screen like it owed me more. The audio didn't confirm anything. No moaning, no giggles, no whispered names. Just ambient gym music, a guy humming along, and a woman's laugh in the background that wasn't exactly not Virginia's. That's what got me. Not the sound. The familiarity of it. Like hearing your favorite song playing in someone else's car, you know it, but it's not supposed to be there. So I did what any guy in my position would do. I got nosy. But surgical nosy. I didn't stomp through the house yelling. I didn't throw a mug or send a "who is he" text like I was auditioning for a daytime drama. I got methodical. Systematic. Which is code for, I spent 5 hours going through every single folder, email, and backup file on that USB like a caffeinated squirrel. And that's how I landed on meetingminutes.docs. Yeah, a Word file. I opened it expecting budget notes or maybe her therapy prompts. She once dabbled in journaling to find her inner calm, which apparently lives somewhere between yoga mats and overpriced notebooks. But this? It was something else. It was a literal list of meeting summaries. Except the meetings were written like this. Thursday, 6:30 p.m., studio session duration, 1h45 notes. Pacing was different this time, felt more in sync. Room was warmer than usual. Tried alternate layout. Might repeat next week if schedules align. No follow-up message yet, wait until Saturday to confirm. Studio session? Alternate layout? What kind of yoga were they doing, geometry-based? I clicked, file info. Last edited 2 days ago. The document wasn't some relic from her art class days. It was live, active, ongoing. So I searched the file name on her desktop. Found an email draft. Unsent. Addressed to someone saved as Tanner Admin. Tanner Admin. Who the hell names a contact like that? He wasn't from her job. I would have heard of him. And her admin team consisted of 3 women and a guy named Reggie who wore flamingo socks and talked about his sourdough starter more than any human ever should. I copied the email address. Created a burner Gmail account. Fired off a test message. Something harmless. Hi, I believe this message reached me in error. Please confirm your identity. 20 minutes later, I got a response. Hey V, LOL, I think you meant this for your other account. It's cool. Just delete it. Dinner Friday still good. First of all, hey V. What kind of man calls my wife V like she's some Bond villain with a Pilates addiction? Second, Dinner Friday? I stared at the screen, fingers frozen over the keys. She had told me she was going to a team bonding paint and sip, which, I now realized, was neither bonding nor painting. Well, maybe painting, but not the canvas kind. That's when the dots fully connected. The weirdly detailed schedule blocks, the locked garage code, the mug in the trash, and now Tanner Admin. A man so shady he couldn't even be bothered to get his own name in her contacts. I didn't tell her that night. I couldn't. Because if I opened that door, I had to walk through it. And I wasn't ready to deal with whatever flaming mess was waiting on the other side. So I waited. Played it cool. Made her coffee the next morning. Kissed her forehead. Acted like I hadn't just discovered her underground dating spreadsheet. Then Friday came. She wore the jeans she usually saved for first impressions. Hair done, eyeliner perfect, earrings subtle but noticeable. The whole look said, I didn't try hard. I'm just naturally this put together, which is code for, I need to look casually irresistible. She grabbed her keys and purse and said, don't wait up. These things always run late. Yeah, I bet they do. I nodded, waved, and even tossed her a have fun, like I was the supportive sitcom husband who just got conned into watching The Neighbor's Cat. Then I followed her. Don't judge me. This wasn't some action movie tailing mission. I stayed several cars back, turned off my headlights like a paranoid dad tracking his teenage daughter. Not proud of it. But I was done giving her the benefit of the doubt while she handed it out like free samples at Costco. She didn't go to any art studio. She parked outside a dimly lit office building near 9th and Calhoun, the kind that's closed on weekends and always smells like toner and leftover ambition. I parked a block away, waited 5 minutes, then walked past like I was just out for an intense late-night stroll wearing jeans and sneakers. Through the glass doors, I saw her. Virginia, my wife, sitting at a tiny two-seater table across from a man who was very much not part of any painting class. Tall, beard, button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled just enough to look accidentally charming. He touched her hand across the table. She didn't pull away. And that, right there, was the click. Not the kind you hear. The kind you feel. Like a safe door sealing itself shut. I didn't storm in. Didn't cause a scene. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, just absorbing the weird blend of heartbreak and, I freaking knew it, washing over me. Walked back to my car. Sat for a long time. When she got home, 1:07 a.m., for the record, I pretended to be asleep. Her footsteps were lighter than usual. Guilt has a way of making people tread softer, like if the floor creaks too loud it'll call in the karma police. She slipped into bed without saying a word. But my mind was wide awake. Wide. Freaking. Awake. The next morning, I made eggs. She said she was tired from all the painting. I nodded and asked if she'd used acrylic or oil. She didn't catch the sarcasm. That's when I knew I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to make her explain it. And not just to me. To herself. You learn a lot about a person by how they lie. It's not just the story, it's the delivery. The pauses. The filler words. The way they blink like they're trying to upload a firmware update before they answer. Virginia wasn't even trying to be a good liar anymore. At this point, it was like watching someone fake a phone call in an elevator just to avoid small talk. Saturday morning was quiet. Too quiet. She made a show of acting exhausted, which was ironic since she clearly had energy for her extracurricular painting class the night before. She stumbled into the kitchen around 9:30, hair in a bun, robe tied like she was mourning the concept of monogamy, and asked, "Did you already have breakfast?" "Yeah," I said. "You were out cold. Figured you needed the sleep." She smiled, and that's when I decided today was the day. Not for screaming. Not for rage. No, today was for precision. The kind that makes people wish you would yell instead of staying calm. I waited until she was halfway through her coffee, decaf, of course, because she claimed caffeine messed with her aura, before I set my phone on the counter and casually opened a browser tab. Chrome. Private mode. Clean slate. "What's that?" she asked, sipping. I rotated the screen toward her. On it, a map. A simple Google Maps drop pin. 9th and Calhoun. The address of her so-called studio. She blinked. Then did that thing people do when they're stalling for time. She smiled with only her mouth. "Looks like downtown." "Yep. Real specific location for a paint and sip." She set her cup down, eyes flickering. "Okay, what's going on?" "Just wondering if the class has a name. You know, maybe I'll join you next time. Unleash my inner Picasso." She stood. "Kyle, you're being weird." Not as weird as having dinner in a closed office building with a guy who emails you under a fake admin name. Boom. Silence. Not dramatic, shattered glass silence. Just dead. Oh no, the walls are closing in silence. She didn't sit back down. Just leaned on the counter and crossed her arms like she was guarding national secrets. "You went through my stuff?" "Technically, I found your stuff in the trash, but sure, spin it however you need." "You had no right." "You're right. I had no right to know why my wife was sneaking around behind my back. I should have just minded my own business while you turned Bike Club into amateur hour at The Bachelor." She walked into the living room. I followed. Not angrily. Just direct. She sat on the armrest of the couch like she couldn't commit to actually being comfortable. "Look, Kyle, it's not what you think. Then you better hope I'm thinking about synchronized swimming because otherwise, I'm thinking it's exactly what it looked like. You don't understand. Enlighten me. Because all I understand is that I married someone who now needs a burner contact list just to go out for dinner. Her mouth opened, then closed. Rebooting. I didn't mean for it to happen, she said finally. Classic. Timeless. Right up there with, it's not you, it's me. So when did it start happening? She didn't answer, which is its own kind of answer. I sat on the arm of the other couch. Two can play the half-committed seating game. Was it the studio? I asked. Or the gym? Or that book club you joined last fall that never once discussed a book? She ran a hand through her hair. You're blowing this out of proportion. That line almost made me laugh. It's the last defense before total collapse. I almost wanted to thank her for being so predictable. I'm just trying to understand the version of this where I'm not supposed to notice when my wife replaces our weekly date night with hour-long sync sessions. You think I didn't see the file names? The notes? Who schedules cheating with calendar invites? That's not fair. No, I said. What's not fair is throwing our history into a wood chipper because some guy with a beard and a decent Spotify playlist made you feel interesting again. That landed. She stood again. Walked over to the window like the backyard had answers. I didn't plan this. You planned everything else. You renamed the garage code, tracked your sessions like you were training for a marathon, and filed away the USB drive like you were working for the FBI. If that's not planning, then I'd hate to see what spontaneous looks like. She turned around. What do you want me to say? I want you to say something that makes sense. But she didn't have that. All she had was a rehearsed expression and a list of justifications that hadn't been road-tested. I was lonely, she said. No. You were bored. There's a difference. Lonely people reach out. Bored people create drama. She crossed her arms again. Maybe if you paid more attention. There it was. The secret play. The redirect. The "this is somehow your fault" card. Stop, I said. You don't get to gaslight me with a budget therapist line. I didn't cheat. I didn't lie. I didn't start a relationship behind your back with a guy who signs emails like an IT intern. Her face flushed. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Virginia? Walk me through it. Help me understand how deleting my mug, hiding files, and creating aliases was part of your self-care routine. She didn't speak. For the first time in years, she looked cornered. Like someone had turned the lights on during a game she thought she was winning. I stood, walked to the hallway, then stopped and turned. Here's the thing. I'm not even mad you cheated. I'm mad you thought I wouldn't notice. That you thought you were so clever, so subtle, that I'd just go on with life while you crafted an entire side plot. She didn't follow me. She just stood there, arms crossed, looking like someone who realized too late that the bridge she burned was the only one keeping her dry. As I went to the bedroom, I grabbed my laptop and printed the itinerary. Not to confront her with it again. I'd already done that. But because I wanted her to see what she looked like on paper, scheduled, clinical, and pathetically predictable. I left it on the counter next to the mug she didn't throw out this time. Tomorrow, she'd wake up and realize I wasn't bluffing. Tomorrow, the conversation would shift. Because this wasn't about saving a marriage anymore. It was about watching someone try to salvage their dignity from the wreckage they caused. When you live with someone long enough, you start to pick up their tells. Virginia had 3 big ones. First, when she was caught in a lie, her voice got overly casual, like she was auditioning to narrate a spa commercial. Second, she'd over-explain things no one asked about, as if answering invisible questions would somehow distract from the real one. And third, my personal favorite, when she knew she couldn't talk her way out, she'd go quiet and suddenly start doing laundry. Nothing says emotional avoidance like sorting socks. Sunday morning, she folded half a basket of shirts she didn't even wear anymore. I watched her from the hallway, leaned against the doorframe, sipping coffee like I hadn't already drafted my exit strategy last night while she was fake snoring beside me. The document I printed, her neat little betrayal planner, still sat on the kitchen counter, unopened. She'd seen it. She just hadn't touched it. Like it might explode. Do you want to talk? She asked finally, not looking up from a pair of socks she rolled so tightly it felt personal. Nope, I said. I'd rather skip to the productive part. She blinked. The what? You know, the part where you finally admit it wasn't in a moment of weakness or an emotional disconnect. It was a series of conscious choices that required passwords, planning, and coordination with someone who signs off emails like he's submitting a help desk ticket. She sighed. Kyle? No, really. I'm curious. Was there an application form? Did you run a background check before deciding this guy was worth imploding a decade over? That's not fair. Oh, we're doing fair now? Great. Let's talk fair. You created a double life that would make the CIA jealous, and I'm the bad guy for noticing. She set the socks down. So what? You're just going to throw everything away? No, I'm not throwing anything. I'm handing you the consequences of your own choices, neatly packed in an emotionally bankrupt spreadsheet you wrote yourself. I walked to the living room and pulled the binder off the shelf. It was our big life binder. The one with all our shared accounts, mortgage docs, insurance, passwords, basically the skeleton of our adult life. She saw it and froze. You're really doing this? I already did. I started last night. Changed the logins. Split the utilities. Called my brother about staying with him while I figure out if I want to keep this house or burn sage over it and start fresh. You're not even giving me a chance to fix this? No, Virginia. I gave you that chance for months when you were at the gym, humming along with whatever playlist you and Tanner were vibing to. She paced like she wanted to say something powerful but didn't have the right monologue ready. So you just walk away? No. I walked in. I walked into the building. I saw you. I heard you laugh like you were living someone else's life. And the saddest part? You didn't even look guilty. You looked relieved. She finally picked up the printed itinerary. Read the first few lines. Set it down. I didn't want it to be like this, she mumbled. Neither did I. But here we are. You wanted a grown-up decision? This is what it looks like. She sat on the edge of the couch, hands clasped, staring at the floor. I'd seen that look before, once, when she got pulled over doing 72 in a school zone and thought crying would get her out of a ticket. It didn't work then either. You really think I don't care about us? She asked. I shrugged. I think you cared about being entertained. And when I stopped being a shiny new object, you went looking for someone who could admire your curated playlist and your ability to quote documentaries about bees. That's not fair, she repeated. You keep saying that like it's a magic phrase. It's not. It's just another way of saying, I don't want to deal with the outcome of my actions. She stood, walked toward me, then stopped like she hit an invisible wall. I still love you, Kyle. I laughed. Not loud. Just enough to let it sting. You love the idea of me. The guy who remembers your dentist appointments and routed the bathroom because you saw a mold spot. But when it came time to actually commit, really commit, you chose a guy whose email address looks like it belongs to a spam folder. That's not who he is. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, we're defending him now? Great. Tell me more about this mystery man who somehow earned your trust but can't even be saved in your phone under his real name. She didn't have anything left to say. I grabbed my keys and my laptop, paused at the door. I'll be gone a few days. You've got the house to yourself. Time to reflect, reset, realign. Whatever inspirational garbage you and Tanner like to post. She didn't ask where I was going. Probably knew better. As I walked out, she said one last thing soft, like it might disappear if she spoke too loud. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't even turn around. Intent doesn't undo impact. And with that, I left. 3 nights at my brother Ryan's place was enough to remind me why I stopped crashing at other people's homes after college. His idea of privacy is yelling, "I'm not listening," from the next room when I'm on the phone, and his idea of empathy is handing me a warm beer and saying, "That sucks, bro," like we're in a sitcom with bad writers. Still, it gave me what I needed: space. Not the poetic kind. The practical kind. A place to think without walking past Virginia's exfoliating masks or the throw blanket she insisted we needed to tie the room together. By the 4th morning, I woke up and realized I didn't want to live in a temporary space of limbo. I wasn't interested in dragging out some marriage limping along on a diet of regret and well-rehearsed excuses. I wanted closure. Not a movie ending. A decision. One that didn't come wrapped in therapy buzzwords or shared Google calendars. So I texted her. Need to talk. In person. Today. 6 p.m. I'll bring the papers. She responded 15 minutes later with a short. Okay. No emoji. No drawn-out apology text. Just okay. Which was somehow the most accurate summary of where we were now. I showed up right on time. House looked the same, which was almost annoying. You'd think betrayal would at least mess up the feng shui. But no, everything was still catalog perfect. She even lit one of those overpriced soy candles that smell like an idea of a tree someone once described to a person who's never been outside. She opened the door, didn't say anything, just stepped aside. I walked in, set my backpack down, pulled out the folder with the papers, divorce draft, asset split, the logistics of untangling 10 years of shared adulthood. Her eyes lingered on it, then on me. I don't know how to start this, she said. Probably because we skipped all the chapters where we tell the truth. She exhaled. Are you really doing this? No, Virginia. I'm doing what you avoided for months, taking responsibility. She sat on the edge of the couch again, like she was reenacting the scene from before. Can't we at least talk about what went wrong? We could. But it would just be you trying to frame this like some mutual unraveling instead of what it was, your choice. Your backup plan. Your exit strategy with an overuse of gym excuses and a man who apparently thinks confidentiality is a love language. She shook her head. You make it sound like I planned to hurt you. No. You planned to not get caught. The hurt was a byproduct. Like smoke from a fire you hope no one would smell. I slid the folder across the coffee table. She didn't touch it. I'm not signing anything yet. Cool, I said. You've got 30 days. After that, I file it anyway. This isn't a hostage negotiation. She crossed her legs, trying to look composed. What happened to working things out? That window closed when I watched you laugh across from someone who isn't me and felt nothing. Not guilt. Not fear. Just ease. Like cheating on me was your version of meditation. She bit her lip like she had a speech ready but decided against it. Probably smart. Nothing she could say would rearrange the facts. I miss what we had, she said finally. You miss the version of us where you weren't required to be honest. That's not true. Then tell me this. If I hadn't found the USB, if I hadn't followed you, would we be having this talk right now? She didn't answer. Her silence confirmed what we both knew. This wasn't a confession. It was damage control. I didn't tell you because I was scared. No, I said. You didn't tell me because you were comfortable. There's a difference. She stared at the papers again. So that's it? No second chances? Second chances are for accidents. You made a series of appointments. She stood and walked to the kitchen, poured herself a glass of water like hydration would somehow reboot her conscience. I wish I could undo it. Of course you do. Now that there are consequences. She leaned against the counter, quiet for a minute. Then, without looking at me, said, Do you hate me? No, I said. I think hating you would be easier. But I don't. I just don't respect you anymore. And without that, what are we even doing? She looked down at her glass, then set it aside like it didn't taste right. So what now? Now, I said, standing, you get a life without pretending. And I get mine back. She walked me to the door, and for a second, I thought she might say something meaningful, one final plea, a rare moment of emotional honesty. Instead, she said, Do you want me to keep the house or? I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so on brand. Split it. Sell it. Burn sage. Frame your itinerary and hang it in the guest room. I don't care. She nodded. I guess this is really it. It's been it for a while, I said. We're just now calling it by the right name. And with that, I walked out the door I used to fix when it squeaked. The same door I unlocked every night thinking I was walking into a home, not an illusion with matching throw pillows. I didn't look back. The thing they don't tell you about leaving someone is that the silence afterward isn't peaceful. It's not tragic either. It's just odd. Like walking into your own house after someone's moved all the furniture 2 inches to the left. Everything looks the same, but nothing feels right. A week after I walked out of our shared illusion, I moved into a one-bedroom place across town. Not one of those bachelor crash pads with a futon and bad lighting, but something neutral, functional. No throw pillows, no scented candles, no framed quotes about growth hanging over the toilet. Just space. Quiet, plain, uninterrupted space. Which, after 10 years of scripted dinners and rehearsed affection, felt like a 5-star upgrade. Virginia didn't reach out. Not immediately. I think she knew that any message would just bounce off the firewall I'd finally installed around my patience. But on day 10, she cracked. A text. I've been thinking about what you said. Can we meet? Just to talk? I stared at it for 3 minutes, weighing the cost of revisiting a burning building to confirm it was still on fire. Then I replied. 1 hour. My terms. She showed up to the coffee place near 5th and Mason, the one we used to pretend we liked because they had weird seasonal drinks and indie music no one could pronounce. She wore that casual outfit that says, I'm not trying hard, but I definitely tried. We didn't hug, didn't shake hands. Just sat down like 2 coworkers forced to share a cab. So she started, I'm guessing you're not here to reconcile. I took a sip of my coffee. Black. No syrup, no oat milk, no caramel drizzle. Just honesty in a cup. I'm here to end the sentence with a period, not an ellipsis. She nodded. I get that. I don't think you do, I said. But I'll pretend you might, for the sake of closure. She looked tired. Not sleep-deprived. Worn down in that way people look when they realize their shiny plan B has no long-term parking. I ended it with him. I raised an eyebrow. Didn't know we were still giving updates. Was there a newsletter I missed? Her mouth pulled into a flat line. I just thought you'd want to know. Why? So I could forgive you retroactively? No. So you'd understand that it wasn't real. Not to me, but real enough to risk everything we had for it. She didn't argue. Progress, I guess. I started therapy, she offered, like that somehow redeemed the plot twist. Great. Let me know when your therapist gets to the chapter about consequences. She looked down at her hands, like they held the script she should have followed months ago. I miss the way you made things feel safe. That's because you never had to worry about me choosing chaos when things got boring. She blinked fast, the way people do when they're trying to cry, but their dignity's still negotiating. You were a good husband, Kyle. Better than I deserved. I wasn't auditioning for sainthood, Virginia. I just wanted honesty. If you'd told me something was broken, I would have tried to fix it. But instead, you hired a stunt double and hoped I wouldn't notice. That got her. She sat back, exhaled hard. So this is it. This was at the moment you decided he was worth more effort than talking to me. A long pause. Then she said, do you think we'll ever be friends again? I actually laughed. Virginia, you don't cheat on someone and then circle back for friendship like it's a store return. You handed me a broken thing, then acted surprised when I stopped carrying it. She nodded, probably because there was nothing left to say. And that's when I realized the weight was gone. Not replaced with some dramatic healing epiphany. Just gone. Like I didn't owe her any more explanations, and she didn't have the power to shape the version of me that came next. I stood up, tossed my empty cup in the bin. Good luck, I said. Not bitter, not sarcastic. Just done. As I walked out, she didn't follow. Didn't call after me. And that silence? This time, it actually was peaceful. So what's next for Kyle? I rebuild. On my own terms. No performance. No partnership with fine print. Just a guy who finally realized that loving someone isn't enough if they're busy investing in their plan B while you're still showing up for plan A. And Virginia? Well, she's got time to reflect. Maybe frame her little fragments folder, hang it somewhere symbolic. As for me, no looking back. No playlist. Just clean exits and open doors. Story closed. Thanks for watching. Rate the story in the comments. Subscribe to the channel